Okay, let's get it rolling. Hello, 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 hello. Steve, Bucko, Gene, Bland, Lad. Yes, I think there are a couple more in the waiting room. But good to see everybody. And I like excited for today as I have a special gentleman here who's not just an awesome human being, he's also a good friend of mine, meanwhile. We just recently met in person, and it's just like awesome to have him here on the call. Um, Harry Owens, hey, how are you today, brother?
I'm doing really well. I appreciate that introduction. Yeah, no, I absolutely think we're pretty much best friends at this point. We met in person,
At this point,
uh,
right?
yeah, in Dallas back for Ajay's event, and then yeah, from there, I mean, great connection. Honestly, you've got a great thing going with your group here, and I think there's a great opportunity to showcase, what we've built, really for you all, for land investors,
Yeah,
with Land Insight. So I'm
I love
excited for
that.
that.
Oh man, like, and let me get a little like, how did that like all worked out? Like last year, we decided to relaunch our acquisitions, and
Yeah,
I was thinking, I was talking to a bunch of people, and like what for me was so obvious is the key to success right now in the land market is to get in the right markets, make a decision where to go to, right? We see a lot of people just going in markets that are just not working, right?
yeah,
And there's reasons for that. And so we were on the search for solutions, and I stumbled across Linus. I think I met Sumner last year on an
mm,
event, and he talked about that. I
yeah.
said, "That's so fucking smart." We started using it, and we started loving it, right? And what I absolutely love
Yeah.
about Land Insights is that you are still all land investors who run the show, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody of you is doing deals. So it's not like coming from a high level perspective, what could work. You build solutions for yourself that work. And I know you are not in the game for too long. I think for 3 years, and you make like have a significant land flipping business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now we're sending about 75. We actually just hired someone. So 75,000 SMS a month. We're trying to actually work on getting all of our channels to work a little bit more cohesively like you have, Robin.
Mhm.
So we'll get there
Oh,
eventually, but Land Insights makes it easy, honestly, to do volume or to scale, to find the right people to plug into your business. Land Insights makes it so easy to delegate. It's ridiculous. I hated having to teach someone 10 different softwares to do one role. And I felt bad for them, to be honest, but I was always happy it wasn't me, once I got rid of it.
absolutely.
But now, sometimes I find myself stepping on some of my employees' shoes because I love being in Land Insights. So,
I love that. I love that. No, it's like, when I think about land these days, market selection is everything. In the classical way, how everybody's doing it is like you go on Zillow, you look how much sold comps
yeah.
are there, right? How much for sale comps, and it's just
Yeah.
like ridiculously a lot of work, right? So get us a little bit
Yeah.
into land insights. What is it? What do you do? Tell us a little bit more about the background before we dive deep. Like, how
Yeah.
do you use it, right? Like, this is what I really
Yeah.
wanted to show today because it's like so cool.
Yeah. Well, I should back up a little bit. So in 2023, when I started, I was spending the most time in my land business on market research, right? Trying to find that perfect county. And I had a slim budget at the time. And so because of that, I was always trying to make sure I spent it in the right places so that it would go as far as it could. The issue is that I found myself creating a bottleneck with how much I focused on marketing that it stopped me from just taking action. And so originally, when Land Insights was kind of put out there on the market, it was just a spreadsheet. And so it was at that point it was still absolutely worth what it was. But it was just supposed to give you enough market data that you could make an informed choice without having to search through every market in Redfin, spend 15 or Zillow, spend 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes making a decision, and then going, I don't like this market. Let me move on to the next one, right? You did all that analysis just to decide you don't like it. So that's really what we set out to correct. From there, it's kind of snowballed into what other problems can we resolve, and how can we leverage the data we already have to create a tool that is a best in class, right? The top quality, all in one. So it has all these different features are going to help you on all different sides of your land business solution to land investing, right? To the business. And I would say that we've kind of conquered a lot of different aspects of this business at this point. We're continuously growing every single week. Even just yesterday, We just added more filters to our data platform. Robin, I'm sure your team's going to enjoy that. On top of that, this next week, we have a huge release, huge release. We've been working on our comping tool for over a year. And I'm excited. I'm going to show you that today. Of course, we want to talk about markets. I'm going to sneak peek that comping tool, and I'm going to show you why this is going to be so valuable. And I think Robin, you might even faint. So you're going to need to stay seated. Uh,
Let's do that and dive deep. Like, it's like I know like a bunch of the management team meanwhile personally, right? And they're all good dudes. And what they do is like really like Mario will laugh now when I bring another German proverb, right? Like it has hand and feet is what we would say over there, right? So which just means it's like super solid and man, like
yep,
just bring us into it, right? Like let's
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 do
let's
it.
show the people around what's the magic of land insights. And I mean, who has trouble finding some good markets right now? Who's in that phase? Bakta, Mario, right? I know everybody has. So it was like, hey, how does it work? How does it look like, right? Because it looks like pretty cool too, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's start here. I'm going to go ahead and share this screen. So, just at first glance, very beautiful. We try our hardest to keep this as top-notch quality as you can, so the experience as we can, so the experience is something you enjoy, right? Especially if you're a solo operator. The cool thing about Land Insights, and I love this about it, is you could be a solo operator, you could be someone with a full-blown team. The platform kind of molds to your needs. So as you grow, you realize, hey, I can use this in a different way, or hey, I can change how I use it, so that it continues to scale or lead me towards scaling. And maybe scaling is not where you want to be. We have some users who specifically go after subdivide or entitlement opportunities, and it's not about scale. It's about quality of the deal, right? So there's so many different ways that you can look at market research, but I'm just going to start off by saying it depends on what you're targeting. You should know what you're targeting, right? You should know if you want to try and go do an infill campaign or look for a subdivide market or look for just rural rec land to flip. So knowing that up front, maybe you don't need to revolve your entire business around one framework, but knowing when you go in to do your market research, what am I looking for is kind of an important question. The cool thing is Land Insights makes it easy. So let's just say you were looking for rural rec. You can quite easily come over here, choose that acreage band that reflects the acreage you're trying to target. A lot of the times I find myself looking at 5 to 100 acres, maybe 2 to 100 acres, maybe even larger. And the entire map, you'll notice all the colors will slightly shift based on your selection. And it'll continue to do that depending on what acreage band you choose, which is just the real time shift in the data. So that's super cool because that's going to filter everything on your screen. But the other cool thing is you can even heat map it by your desired data point. So if you're trying to look for the fastest counties, you quite literally just choose what's the sell through rate in a year from hottest to coldest, and you get immediately all the counties that are moving faster than the rest, right? Now, the one thing I do want to point out is every state's different, right? And there's probably this here, but you have investors who are going to different states, learning different things about different counties, different regulations, maybe minor exemptions, whatever it might be. So I don't even necessarily start out this way. What I like to do is I start on the state level, and that gives me the opportunity to really come in here and choose a state, uh, look at that state and see what's good in that state because of the different. I mean, we could really get wild here because of the different weather, the different soil, the different regulations, the different desire for different acreage sizes, right? Texas is very different than Washington. And it goes on and on and on, population, whatever it might be. All of that affects the demand. And, at the very core of market research is the volume that's moving through a county plus the actual size of a county. That's going to affect demand too. So you might have 50% of a market moving in two different states, right? Two different markets moving at the same pace, so to speak, but they have completely different criteria. They're made up of different pieces of demand and different factors that are leading to that demand. So looking at one state at a time really allows us to kind of get a good read on each state for finding out what is working in that state. And the cool thing is when you break it down to this view, first of all, we're going to break it down even a little further, but the cool thing is you can do this for all 50 states. So I wouldn't say, hey, go invest in New Mexico, but there's plenty of people who do. North Dakota, maybe not, but there's plenty of people who do. So the cool thing here is now we're looking at one state, we're looking at Virginia, and I can actually come up here to my tooltip preferences and choose all the data points that matter to me most. Right. So I'm just looking for rural rec in this case. If I don't need pricing information right now, I don't need to choose it. The thing that I love about rural rec land is, you know, I want to be able to find myself finding some subdivide opportunities here and there. So I want to make sure that I'm looking at price per acre, seeing how that shifts between acreage bands, and seeing how I can actually target markets that will kind of reward me in different ways. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to put median price up here as well. Yeah, maybe I'll keep price per acre. And doing this, I'm immediately able to just start hunting around and saying, okay, well, what's the story of this market or the next market? I can immediately see the active count between the acreage band I'm choosing. I can immediately see the amount of pending sold in 3 months, 6 months, a year, or even 1 month. And then I can see the sell-through rate based on that quantity. So the cool thing about that is I'm able to immediately identify where is fast enough for me, right? I should have an idea of maybe the minimum of what I'm okay with. And from there, it's a matter of becoming okay with everything else going on in this county or any given county that I find. So is the sold price okay? Okay. If it is, let me make a further decision on this market. Now, the one thing I do want to point out is we're still at 2 to 100 acres. So is the median really going to be that helpful? Maybe not, but that's why this is super valuable to be able to come in here and immediately hop into these different acreage bands and see, is there actually anything moving from 2 to 5 acres before I go and decide to market to 2 to 5 acres, right? And then I can go up and up and up as I wish. I can see where the quantity is at, and I can break it down by acreage size. The cool thing is, on top of that, whether it's and this particular county already had very slim pickings, but once I find an acreage band that I like, I can simply decide to target that and move forward with that process. I can right click that, add it to my own markets, and kind of keep track of the places that I want to go. And we can even take notes in another tab. We can actually take notes on each individual county that we're looking at. The cool thing here is this is kind of like the beginning of your search. I think you can. You already may do this, but I don't want you to have to go throughout the entire United States, county by county by county, looking for the best counties. Instead, you can just come down here to our market data table, and you can just mass disqualify all of that situation earlier where I mentioned you were spending maybe 15, 20 minutes looking at a market and then deciding you don't want it. You can do that in a snap just by coming in here and putting in your filter criteria, being able to say, well, if it's not moving at least 15% in 3 months, I'm really not that eager to be in that market. And the data up above immediately shifts to your criteria. So this is like it's a cheat code to getting towards those markets that you really feel comfortable with for the reason of dispo, right? You want to choose a market up front that you're confident in so that when you go and dispo a property, you know that it's going to be selling quickly or you know that it'll be competitively priced. That's the goal here is you don't want to find yourself in a market that's slow moving, that doesn't have enough quantity that's going to validate your offer and ultimately justify buying it, funding it, listing it. So this is how you correct for a lot of that on the front end. And then I'll show you a couple neat tricks here, but you might have noticed the zip code option as well. So the cool thing is while we're looking at this map, we're still looking at entire counties here. And we're looking at one range, but if we go back to, let's just do 2 to 100 and we look at our zip codes, this can become something that shows you everything happening in a given state. I mean, this is going to allow you to go anywhere you want and understand, is this zip code performing? Is it not performing? Maybe even finding the best counties and then within them, segmenting them out. Where in this county is most of the activity? So you're able to kind of zoom in really quickly to the places that matter most, right? The the thing that I tend to do is very similar when it comes to zip codes as it is for the entire United States. And that's not just clicking zip codes or looking around, but instead finding the market that we like, going down here and filtering for it, uh, and once we've filtered for it, now doing our analysis, being able to kind of isolate the zip codes in that county. So we're really easily able to come in here and say, okay, well, Is there enough quantity to make us feel comfortable on the zip code level? Are there areas where there's just no comps? If there's areas where there's just no comps, maybe I avoid it. Now I just chose this market randomly, so I don't know what's going on here. But it's a good reason to, if I ended up liking this county, targeting those zip codes that actually have the activity. There's 8 active, 1 sold in 3 months, 3 sold in 6 months. Feel much more confident than four active and 1 sold 6 months ago, right? So I don't want to waste 100 mailers out here if I don't have to. That's 50 cents per mailer. And there may be other things that you're using, text, cold call, but that's a lot of time. And I think the time savings is a big part of this. You save time, you save money, and ultimately you're spending that time on more qualified markets. And then we'll even help you qualify the data as well. So we can show you that. If Robin wants me to show you like AI scrubbing, we can talk about that today too, Robin. Um,
Man, I love that. And what, like I think you spoke about a really good point. It's a time savings, right? Normally we sit there. And even when you do that manually, you will not probably have the ability to get that deep down, right? When you do that
no.
manually, like imagine that process, right? Like you go in Zillow, you just like look at all this data, you
Mhm.
put like three, four different tabs on your spreadsheet, and then you need to manually search. Here, you just click a couple of buttons and get that out, get that out, and then you target within a county that areas that are working. I mean, like I know a bunch of counties where you have like really good pockets, but like 80% of that county is like just not working for that what you're
Right.
targeting, right? And this is like what really the real juice is here. It's like to really make selections of markets from like a macro to a micro level, like pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
So that you, like Ari said, like do that in a shorter amount of time that you can really, I mean, everybody sometimes struggle, right? We have all more things to do than the day has hours, right? So now you eliminate all this and you don't deal with shitty leads on the back end with properties that you don't want because you already did at the front end your work pretty easily with this to filter that out what's really working, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the greatness of it. But I didn't want to interrupt you, man. Just like do your thing, brother. Go ahead, man.
No, I think you touched on a really good point. One of the other things that I love is we kind of offer you different ways to find these markets. Like this is one way that I talk about finding rural rec, but I mean there's so many different property types out here and so many different strategies to exit a deal that it changes how you find markets. If you're looking for infill lots, I will almost exclusively be telling you to look at zip codes because you're not going to be able to see if something's really moving well at the county level if it's an infill lot, and usually those are around pockets of areas where a zip code actually will help you understand if infill properties are moving faster as well. We also, so the beauty of this is imagine finding your market and then immediately being able to go pull the data for that. Well, I'm going to show you our data platform really quick, but not necessarily to pull the data, but because there's even ways to look for those infill properties or smaller properties or even just activity in here. So this is a crazy addition, but we have an MLS comps layer. If I zoom in far enough, you're going to start to get overwhelmed with the amount of comps that are on this screen. Where you can easily see pink, green, and blue dots that will actually show you the price breaker and the size of these properties. And the reason why this is just so amazing, these are comps from the last year, and this is showing you where the activity is. So if you wanted to target certain areas based on just your observation, your visual observation of there is more demand than there is supply, you can also find markets or little hubs doing this. And we have many I mean, I did this for a whole year using Redfin. Now I'm able to do it here and actually see, okay, what's this dot actually show, right? In Redfin, it'll just show a dot. Here, I can actually see, here's the acreage, here's the price. If I wanted to target a specific property type, I could easily just come in here and say, well, I only want to target infill, and maybe that's anything up to, let's just say 1.2 acres. You immediately filter for all of those properties, and you can start looking for places where 1 to 2 acres seems to be selling. And this is something that maybe you start off slow, but I'm gonna give you a guarantee that over time you'll start to really easily identify those places with more sales than there are for sales, which is huge. It's definitely a huge opportunity to uh, huge opportunity to find places just like this, which I've never seen this place before, but just another opportunity to be in places where really there's no other active land investors, and it's not going to be as easy uh, to create a race to the bottom when there's fewer people to talk to, right? Or to compete with. And you can do this all over the United States, wherever you are, whether it's a specific infill lot or whether it's larger properties. If you're just looking for areas with demand and lack of supply, like this is, I know one person, seven-figure investor only does this. Honestly, I can't only do this myself. I think I love searching for the markets in this market research tool now, and I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty good at it. Sometimes I forget that looking at this tooltip is I can't even say how much, like maybe 50, 100 times. I don't know what you would say, Robin, but 100, let's just say 100 times faster than getting all of these data points for a single market and then having the confidence that you're actually correct, right? Like you didn't kind of tweak
And
something
and
on
it, and
accident.
it's also one other thing. You're connected to the MLS, right? Like so when you search for comps on Zillow or Redfin, you will
Mhm.
see a glimpse, right? Like you don't see 100% of the data. You see probably like 60, 70%
Yeah.
of the data, right? How is it in non-disclosure states? Do you have the data what things sold for there too? I never dealt with you guys in non-disclosure state, but like because normally a lot of realtors report it meanwhile because they want the
Yeah.
comps to be on the MLS too, right?
It's actually really wishy-washy. We found that the most accurate way to deal with non-disclosure states is just going off the last listed price for pricing information. Otherwise,
Yeah.
the volume of comps, that's not affected. The days on market, that's not affected. Like everything actually on this far left column, none of it's affected by a non-disclosure state, fortunately. And that's really where you want the base of your analysis to start. You want to know, what does the volume look like? What does the speed look like? What is and the days on market actually tells you a different story, which I don't know if you could get this on Redfin. First of all, getting the days on market on Redfin or Zillow, you have to click into the listing. You have to scroll all the way down and see when did it actually sell? When did it go pending? With Land Insights, it's just there. And on top of that, this is the average days on market for comps sold in the past 1 month, 6 months, year. So the difference here is that this is not saying the same thing as sell rate, right? Sell rate is a prediction of the future based on a depiction of the past. So it's kind of saying, hey, this happened. And so we expect it to happen again. For average days on market, it's saying, hey, just these properties that have been selling, they've been on the market X amount of days. The reason why that's beneficial is because if the days on market's super, super high, let's just say 300 days, and the sell rate's super, super high, usually most investors would say, oh, I don't want to be in this market. But by looking at it together, you can say everything is in demand and everything that's selling has been on market for a long time. So that could indicate it's an increase in the trend, right? Or in the desire, the demand for that property type or those properties in that market. And if it's on an upwards trend, you can get to that market before someone else realizes it, right? We update our data monthly, so coming in here and seeing what has changed in that month is a huge advantage over just constantly trying to find another market. And this is also something that I don't touch on it as much anymore because it doesn't apply to me as much. But before I was always trying to catch that next market. Where is it? Where am I going? And if I don't hit it, do I miss my marketing KPI, right? Or my deadline that I set for myself, And so now I've created a backlog. So my team has no issue. It's which market do we prioritize? And now that we have this tool, I can easily prioritize by really homogeneity. How easy is it to price? I definitely want to show you that, or at least talk about it as well. Robin, I'm not sure if you use this on your team, but we have this thing called the Gini score. Gini score is
Mhm.
absolutely wild. It's going to tell you the standard deviation, just a score from 0 to 100, telling you how consistent is the pricing. So you get to see up front in whatever acreage band you're looking at, how consistent is the pricing within this market? From 2 to 100, we would expect it to be higher. But as you go lower and lower in your bands, right? Let's just say 5 to 10 acres, you should see that drop significantly. Now, let's go ahead and let's just unfilter for this particular county so we can see more counties out here with higher volume. But uh, let's go find one with good volume. Okay, Franklin County, from 5 to 10 acres, we got more volume here. So you start to see this starts creeping up, right, towards 100. The more quantity you have, the higher this score should get because it gets harder and harder to price as you have more property types. Now, the fact that uh, this is around 50 and it's a score from 0 to 100, you can say it's kind of middle of the road, right? It's going to be harder to price than maybe the easiest county, but it's not going to be really one or the other, right? Not too easy, not too hard. It's kind of your Goldilocks, but I tend to try and focus for 50 and below. And I think, ideally, if it's 40 and below, 30 and below, right, you start to see that it continues to get even more lucrative when you start realizing, hey, this is 5 to 10 acres and it's trading relatively close for every single property. If you go to places like Michigan, you just see this really fast. A 5 acre is selling for the same price per acre than a 20 acre. And so it just consistently increases, allowing you to do something that not a lot of people can wrap their heads around, which is let me get a 20 acre, splice it up, and you know, and sell it for more. Obviously, in that example, it's going to be the same price per acre, but the idea is you're able to find places where there's a shift in these acreage bands, and you're able to identify that on the front end. So whether it's the median price per acre or the homogeneity, you can easily identify markets that are going to be too hard for your team if you're doing blind offers, or maybe it doesn't apply to you because you want to do neutrals. So you can easily start making decisions based on this within moments. I mean, I would say you could probably find your first market using Land Insights in 10 minutes. Uh, I think the hard part about Land Insights is it gives you so much data that now you have a new problem. Do I get overwhelmed with the data? Analysis paralysis. How do I know I chose a good market? Well, when you have the entire United States to look at, you're bound to find good markets pretty easily when you can filter for criteria, right? So it's actually a common thought. But this is the super exciting part of Land Insights is it just alleviates so much stress around having to hit some sort of deadline. I mean, I had a call with one of my teammates this morning, and I fully expected, I don't know why I did, it's just maybe like a flashback, but I fully expected us to have like, hey, Ari, we're going to need 10 more markets. I hop on and we're good for the next couple weeks, if not month. And I'm like, oh, right, right. We're good to go. Okay. Well, I guess this checkup meeting was not all that, necessary. But everybody's got what they need to do. They come in the morning, they know exactly how to run their role. And sometimes it feels stressful that I don't have to worry about some of the stuff I used to. So it's an exciting tool to use for that purpose. As you move to the data platform, I mean, this is just kind of bringing the whole experience home. And I won't necessarily talk about absolutely every feature we have, but being able to say, hey, I like this county, come out here and just start filtering for that county. I think we were looking at like Franklin County, Virginia, easily come in here and just start looking for oops, not Franklin City. Let's see if we can get Franklin County in here. Franklin County, you can immediately start working that list. Now, the marketing and the quality of your marketing, and I'm not talking about your letters or your texts or your phone calls, but the quality of the markets you've chosen, it doesn't really end with market research. When you go and you find where you want to go, then you have to go into your data platform, whether it's data tree, prop stream, whatever it might be, and you have to trust that the quality of the data is like very high quality. Then you have to start searching for the most high quality opportunities in that market. You may decide you just want to market to everything, but the cool thing is you have the opportunity to say, I saw 5 to 10 was trading really highly, right? Really high. Let me go and focus on that acreage bracket. So the reason why that's important is because you're going to find yourself in positions where you actively do not want to market to everything. So being able to come in here and easily, dictate that and know, hey, 2 to 25 acres is exactly what I want to target. I want to make sure that it's a specific zone type, max improvement percentage. Maybe we're targeting the highest uh, possible motivation, right? We actually just added, Robin, you'll love it, but tax delinquency last night. So now you can kind of target anyone in this market who is tax delinquent, which, in Franklin County, my goodness. So you're able to really start focusing in. on the highest quality data in the highest quality market, all for one main goal, right? To streamline your experience when you get a lead. This isn't to guarantee, and I don't think there's any way you could probably guarantee a response going up and up and up and up. But if you get a lead, we want to make sure you've already maximized for the potential of that lead. We don't want to be marketing to something that's just in the middle of nowhere or landlocked. We use our platform, and I use it specifically to scrub out landlocked properties or duplicate owners, flood zone, wetlands. Being able to do that, HOA, it's going to change exactly how we look at this data. And then you can even in our platform, you'll notice if we scroll in, hey, some of these have homes on them or structures on them. We don't want to target that. The really cool thing is we built a vacant land only AI button, right? This filter that looks at any county data as well as anything on our building layer. And while it might not seem like there's a structure, it qualifies it for you so it knows exactly which properties are vacant land regardless of what they're recorded as. So if you want to use that, you absolutely can. I'd love to get this deal in my CRM. But one of the other cool things here is you're you're going to be feeling very confident when you get this mail out or when you get this marketing out. And that's a completely different feeling because that stacks up over time. I feel very confident my entire CRM, maybe, I have a lot of cold leads in there, but they're all made up of high quality data. Now I'm not really anxious about getting a landlocked property that I can't work or that I don't want to work, or something completely covered in flood zone. Now, there's opportunities to target those properties, but that's just not my operation. And so this allows you to just incredibly quickly target and pull that data out. If you're skip tracing, we even have skip tracing in here as well. So it's going to pull the data, scrub it. If it scrubs successfully and certain properties get pulled out, certain ones are left in, it scrubs everything that's left in. And we have some of the most competitively priced skip tracing. We don't make profit on it, so it's for you. It's for the users, and the people who want to use our platform, and benefit the most out of it. So this is like the main thing that I'm learning in 2025 is my business is really only as good as the systems I put in place. This is a literal system, but I really mean systems all around. If you don't have an idea of what you want to target, going back to our earlier conversation, then trying to go and do market research is not going to help you because you don't know what you should be looking for. So coming in and having a system in place for, I want to target this, I want to target that, and I think 50% in 6 months is good. Having a baseline understanding, at least to start out, is pretty important. How you pull data. Do you like to target out of county owners, out of city or out of zip owners, or only corporate or only individual owners? So knowing those things is going to be important because as you build a process, it's rinse and repeat. It's not every time I log in, I'm doing something different, and it feels like I'm always trying to catch up, right? And that's really the benefit of Land Insights is it allows you to build a very systematized, streamlined experience for your operation, which is why I think, honestly, we have a lot of a lot of loyalty when it comes to our users because it's just you're not going to get this anywhere else. The experience overall, we want it to be something you can't get anywhere else selfishly maybe. We just want to create something that's really beneficial for other land investors as it's been for us. So yeah, I think maybe this is a good place to pause. I have some other stuff that I can absolutely show, and I think will be really exciting, especially because your community is huge on comping, Robin. But I'm curious, are there any questions, any curiosities, anything that you want to ask? And that's to the group here.
Who's like overwhelmed right now by data? You can be honest, right? Now, like what I like is it's like an end-to-end solution. This is like really the reality, right? Like so you do
Yeah.
your research, you go on the markets, and then you immediately can pull the data, you can skip trace the data and can start immediately operating, right? On that one.
Yep.
And instead of having that in multiple system, multiple steps, you just like use one system, right? And that's like the beauty, I think, of this whole thing is just like really having everything in one place, if that makes sense. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, just like fire them out because we want to go a step further, right? We did our market selection and how you just like really pull the data and pull the right data, right? Like how cool is that that you can filter like from moment one, like HOAs and fix
Yeah.
delinquent and all that crap, right? Like so you can really tailor your data and the approach of lots to that what you want your business to be like, right? Because so many ways, like Ari mentioned a bunch of times to run this business. You can do infill, recreational, subdivides, entitlements, all that stuff. But here you have everything in one
Did we lose Robin?
stuff out,
Oh no.
right? You now use a sniper rifle, right? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, man, my internet connection today is so bad.
No, it's
You can
okay.
get comp super fast and all that.
Yeah, and I'll show you something when it comes to the comping here in a second after we ask some questions. But to preface the questions that you might have, I do want to say one of the other cool things is we don't leave you hanging. So, you go get data tree, you go get prop stream. Do you have weekly calls or times that you meet with those teams, those companies that are willing to talk to you about land investing, specifically land investing? I don't think there's any other company out there who just works for land investors like quite like we do, where we want you to be using the tool. We want you to progress right in your business. We actually want your feedback. Most of this business, even if we come up here and look at this new county assessor information, this was fully off feedback. We just added it yesterday. Our users were requesting this information and we listen. Now, obviously, if there's a one-off request, it's a lot harder to implement that. But if multiple people are reaching out about it, we recognize that's an issue. The same thing happened with this vacant land only. We had users saying, I'm getting so much data with homes." Well, it's the county data, and this county data is sourced from First American, so it's the highest quality you'll get. But in order to make sure that we're always providing the most value, is we're always going to listen to our users, which is a very important thing. And then we'll have an onboarding for you. We'll have office hours. We have a knowledge base that will share with you a course that you can even go through. So we have a lot of resources that you can leverage even after joining. It's not just a once and done, type of deal like Data Tree where you talk to your rep and they just want to sell you something, and then they're done. Right.
That's what it
So
is. The
please, yeah.
community. You're really strong on that aspect, right? Guys, do you have any
Yeah.
question? Like we have one here in the chat. So Mario's asking, so I can also get my comp super fast, is that correct? And like the second one is would Land Insights replace Land ID for me?
So yeah, we kind of have a vision of replacing Land ID in 2025. There's some things that we don't have of Land ID. Now, if you look on the far right, like we do have a lot of these layers here that we can leverage. The MLS layer is just one of many, but you can look at wetlands, you can look at surface water flood zone, the contour layers. Actually, I didn't show you. Let's take some of this off, but you can even just right click, and this is the least exaggerated map you'll find. If you look at data tree, for example, it's extremely exaggerated. So you understand, hey, there's a slope, but we don't do that. We want you to be able to look at a map and see the topography and feel confident with it. So we will also show you those contour lines if you want. We have our building layer and our road layer. So, while you're doing due diligence like you might on Land ID, you can do a lot of that here. Certain things we won't have on here just yet, larger like transmission lines. I think there's certain kind of obscure layers that we don't hear of or see people using that frequently. And then I would say probably namely also subdivide tools, which the plan is to get that in as well.
I love
And then
that.
Maria's other question was, so I can get my comps super fast. That is correct, but we just haven't gotten to our comping tool, Mario, which is I think going to blow some minds here. So I'm happy to show you that in just a sec. Any other questions? Curiosities? Maybe I should ask some questions. And you can put it in the chat or you can chime in, but how long does it take you to determine if a market fits or if a market is good now? And what's your process look like? Are you using Redfin? Are you using Zillow? Because I
Don't
didn't
need to be
just
shy.
I didn't just use Land Insights, to start my business. So we haven't been around since 2023. I started using Zillow and Redfin myself. Mario uses Zillow. Okay. Yeah, I would say, yeah. I would say both of those probably help understand, but if you're using both at times, so Mario, are you looking at Zillow and then just qualifying it really quick? Hey, does Redfin look good? Is it something like that? Yeah. So, I mean, think about how much more time it takes to feel confident in a market and then have to go qualify it again for like a second confirmation. I didn't mention it, but one thing that we actually do with our marketing data is we scrub out duplicates. We also scrub out off-market comps. So there's a lot of counties out there that look good, right? They look good at the surface level. You see all the volume, but a lot of it is made up of repetition, right? Someone posting the same property twice, and also off-market comps where Uncle Sally sold to John, and Uncle John got it for $30,000, but it's worth 100. Or maybe he got it for free, and that's just the number they put, right? So we scrub off market specifically to see what is the retail activity, and that's extremely valuable, I think, for finding those markets where it's not just made up of maybe investor activity or activity we can't explain. So yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, I mean, I'm happy to show people the comping tool, Robin. I don't mind at all. And this thing
Let's do
is,
that. I think, I mean, like we do a lot of Wisconsin in the community, right? Like, but
you say,
I from my
with comps.
understanding, yeah, yeah, we run our comms calls, right? But in the end, it's also pulling data, right? And you are like so good at that particular thing, just like running the right data with the right people, right? Like let's talk a little bit about that. How can you make that process even easier and save a bunch of time? Because who's on the comping call, it's time consuming, right? To find the right comms and to go through that list on Zillow or Redfin or whatever, and then have in the end like maybe you don't even get everything in the market, right? And what's so strong about you is that it is like really backed by the MLS, right? So this is what I like. So let's talk a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, I mean, so the data that we show in the platform here in the market research platform, the reason why I love this is because obviously it's the same platform as the data platform, right? So when you go and you find a property, let's just say you get a lead, and let's go ahead and clear this out just so we can look around. And let's say we get a lead out here. Here's the property that we have that called in. There's so many different things we can do once we have this. If we're looking at the MLS layer, of course, we can hop around and see what the activity looks like, but we have a couple other options. First, we can actually hop over to this metrics area. Like this is a data platform. You can see all the parcel information, all the owner information, if there's a structure, all of that. But you can also see the metrics that were in the market research platform. So you can get a gauge on what is the median price per acre here for this acreage band, 20 to 40 acres. What's the speed look like? How many are pending? How many are active, sold? You can gauge, you can confirm that this is a good property at a glance before even really looking into it too much. And once you do that, you're really easily coming out here and saying, well, we're 20 to 40 acres. Let's go ahead and put in 20 to 40 acres. Just look at the properties that are worth my time here. And if you lose that property, we may be adding a pin, but you can easily just jump back to that parcel and you can see, okay, our closest comps are the activity in this market's pretty good. And so you'll see on this layer, sometimes duplicates pop in. I'm starting to see like 29 acres, 20 acres. So those are a little bit different. But the beauty of this, so these two look the same. So you can just click this open and it'll open right to Redfin or Zillow, right? Show you that listing, show you exactly what's happening. What was the description like? How long did it take to go pending? When did it go pending? How long did it take to close? This was a relatively fast sale, right? And they accepted a lowball offer probably in comparison to their initial listing. But it's a perfect way to get a read on your lead. And you'll notice this button that's floating down here. So Robin, this is going to be new to you, but we have this uh, ability to just comp the property immediately, right? Click it
I
open.
love that.
This is going to be exciting for you, Robin. You click it open and boom, now you're in our comping tool. So you still have the map. You're still able to see the parcel insights, the market insights, right? It's going to give you a read from red, yellow, and excuse me, green, yellow, and red on what is happening in that market. What's kind of a yellow flag, green flag, or red flag. Mario, to answer your question, if you ever have questions on what do these colors mean, or how do I remind myself? Quite quite easily, you can just click on this and it'll always tell you the status. So green is sold, pink is pending, and uh, for sale is blue. When you're in the comping tool, not only can you see those parcel insights, the market insights, this is where it really gets fun, is you can start to see what our AI algorithm would estimate this property to be based on everything happening around it. Now we've gotten this pretty dialed in. I wouldn't say that in my business I'm relying it on 100%. If I did, I'd probably say we still get some deals, but it goes beyond this comped value, and I'll show you why here in a second. So you also get metrics that you can see market scores and comping scores. These are the highest value metrics that we've found when comping. You want to know how much competition there is. You want to know what's the strength of that market, whether it's rural or infill, right? In specifically for your acreage band for that property, you're able to see how easy it would be to price, going back to homogeneity, based on the other properties and how far apart in pricing they are, right? And then you're able to see a couple of other comping scores here as well, which is everything below or is this below the on market price per acres, right? Are we going to be the next logical sale? On top of that, it's going to ask us to go click comps. I'll show you that in a second. And then we'll even see once we've comped it, will the owner even make a profit here? Right? Obviously, this is not indicative of getting the deal, but it's really cool to see this. It's really cool to understand, are you coming in at an angle that makes them feel comfortable, right? So this keeps going. So right now you'll notice manual comp value. There's no comp selected uh, for uh, for this property. We can actually do a couple of things. I'm going to show you here in a second, which is really exciting. Manually comping. The reason why Land Insights I think is just 10 steps ahead of any other software out there is because it's really amplifying your skill set, right? It's not supposed to replace your ability to find a market. It's supposed to enhance it. It's not supposed to replace your ability to find good quality data. It's supposed to enhance it. And the same is true when you're comping. You're not just going to get a comp value 100% of the time that works, despite our algorithm trying to help you. We're going to want to enhance your ability to go look at all the sold comps. If you want to download them, you can, or all the active comps and choose how do I want to comp this property? What are the properties that I want to use? And we have like four pillars that you should be using when you're comping: price, proximity, likeness, and days on market, right? Speed. So if you're able to look at those four things, and we have all four of them here, so the age of it, the price. So I would say the recency, the price, the proximity. Actually, we have one more I didn't say. So likeness would be the acreage size, proximity, and then the speed over here, the days on market. And being able to look at these and quickly determine, do I want to look at acreage bands at the same acreage band? Do I want to go look at the acreage band lower so that, oops, not 120, so that I can actually evaluate this for subdivide potential, right? It gets really exciting because now you're able to kind of look at this through different lenses. You're able to comp this by choosing those properties that you find the most reasonable. And if you don't have that confidence, you could easily just click on that comp link. It's going to bring you right out to that listing. You can go back to Land Insights. You can say, yeah, I love that one. Let's add it. And you can also sort. So if you're prioritizing your comp's importance by distance, you can sort from lowest to highest distance away from your property, your lead, or days on market, speed. What made it good, right? What made it so desirable that it flew off the shelf? You can do the same by likeness of acreage size or the price that you would want to go after, but I don't suggest doing it that way, right? We want to validate that price.
I have a question because I think that's like fucking like cool. Like who
Yeah.
thinks that's cool? Like I think that's so
Yeah.
cool. Like when you look at comps. So can I see the listing from here? Would click that.
Yeah, so we easily just click on these listings in order to see exactly what sold. I looked at this one; it's a little prettier, but you can easily come in here, see the description, see how fast it sold, right? And this is something that we love looking at. But the cool thing is we put that in a spreadsheet, so you don't have to go knee deep in order to comp one property. You can absolutely do that, and you might want to get that context. But think about it: if you're able to come in here and let's just say you have you have a lead that comes in, you want the speed to lead to be as top notch as possible. You want to call them. You don't want to just, and this is the benefit is if you're doing a discovery call and you start to uncover motivation and you have a glimpse at what you can accomplish with this property, you start to really have all the leverage, right? Information is leverage when you're talking to the seller. And so, yes, sure, maybe you have a discovery call, then you have a closing call. But if you can get something done and you feel the motivation, this is just a shortcut to getting that thing under contract as soon as possible and not waiting for another investor or that seller to find another option. Um, Not willing to risk anything is going to be why this information is so powerful, right? You don't have to risk anything. You're just able to do this incredibly quickly. And think about it, delegation. If you hire someone to comp, which by the way, I had a hard time. I don't know about you, Robin. I have a hard time outsourcing comping. I think we talked about this in Texas. It just doesn't feel easy to trust somebody with comping. But the cool thing is this is twofold. First of all, this is super intuitive. You can give parameters. So if I want someone to look at comps and say, hey, don't ever go outside the range, or maybe go outside the range with a variance of 5 acres, right? Not 25, that would have been 15. So 15 to 25 acres, and I'm looking at a 20-acre property. Use all of those for your comps. Or if you're telling them, hey, only days on market this amount or less, or proximity this or less, right? Now you can start to build a model, a system for them to just operate from and through time and time again. And the cool thing is once you've selected all of these, let's actually go ahead and make this range a little bit smaller. There's a lot to talk about on this comping tool, uh, right? Uh,
Hmm.
as you start to add properties that you find are valuable, let's say, uh, this one looks like it's around that 10-acre mark or 20-acre mark, excuse me. I think it was 20 something. I like I like this one here. And I think that's all I really want to add for now, right? So we've got 5 comps. You can see how recent they were, the prices for all of them. We even have one that's extremely low that we want to consider and make sure that we're being honest with ourselves. Uh, Now that we've done that, you'll notice what it tells us our manual comp value is. Okay, so that's a lot lower than it's set up here. So if you comp it and it's different than what our algorithm says, you now have this opportunity to say, well, okay, for me, if you click open this calculator, you can easily start to say, okay, well, what percentage do I want to offer if I want to make a certain amount of profit? Let's say you have a minimum amount of profit you want to make, 15,000. Well, you can easily doctor this if it's below that 15,000. Maybe you want to make 30,000. Well, you can easily come in here and say, well, okay, 46, 45. I know that in this county, maybe it's actually I'm familiar with this state. It's usually going to be 2,500. So I could come in here probably close to 45, 46% and feel pretty comfortable, right? And that's going to start helping you make offers very, very quickly rather than having to wait around and do due diligence for a long time. And maybe that's not all that goes into the deal. Maybe it's covered in wetlands. Maybe it's a deal that you're not confident on because of the slope or the area is just not the good side of town despite it having high activity, right? You can come in here and actually add adjustments. So if you want to say, well, slope is questionable, right? You can actually put in a negative 10% adjustment and it's going to adjust your price and say, well, actually, the market value probably going to be a little less because of that slope or because of anything that you want to add here, which starts to make this extremely individualized and custom to the point where you're not up against someone else looking at the same offer, giving them the same offer every single day, and having a seller try and just bump you up to the next amount. How high will he go? Right. This is a very clear way of knowing how high you can go and offering based on that. So the adjustments is super cool. I have never seen anyone do anything like this, and I think that is super important because there are tons of deals where you need to add these, right? If it's a junkyard, but it's a great part of town, which I've dealt with here locally, it's you can't pay the same amount. You just can't. You're going to run into all these issues. So that's an awesome opportunity. Now, the crazy thing is, I would say if I hadn't just been walking you through and narrating this is something I could have done in 5 minutes or less, right? Confidently, if I'm really focused in. Now, the beautiful part of Land Insights is we're always trying to enhance the experience and give you a head start. I didn't use this auto select comps over here, but our AI will go look for the best comps in that area based on our algorithm. and try and find them for you. So if I wanted to remove all of these comps here, I don't have to. It'll actually remove them for me, but I just want to show you from scratch. It'll ask you, do you want to clear the selected comps? Once you do, it's going to select all of the comps that it finds valuable. It's going to give you the price or the comp value based on those comps, and it's even going to add adjustments based on days on market. So I added this slope is questionable one. If we remove that, the value is actually going to show you exactly why it came to this distinction, right? Does that make sense? So you're going to see, hey, it's accounting for about 10% days on market adjustment because some of these are on the market a little too long. If you remember earlier, I had mentioned, hey, days on market isn't always indicative of demand. The days on market's high, but the demand's high. You're going to start to see anything, whether it's just listed or whether it's been listed for a year, you're going to start to see that gain traction. So this is really cool how it'll help you comp these properties. And if you disagree with what it shows here, what it automatically selected, you're just doing the reverse of what we just did. Instead of going and finding the comps, you're coming in here and saying, well, I don't want to consider one that sold that after that amount of time on market, even if it sold for a premium, right? So it's probably a one buyer fits that kind of deal scenario. Maybe I want to remove it. And that's how you can start to customize this to where you start to see, okay, it really will shape my offer a little bit differently. And this is just something that continues to get pretty bonkers, right? We have an area for you to keep notes, make notes on what you want, your seller conversations. You can see a market analysis, 4 days on market. And then you can see everything that you could see in the data platform to easily understand when you're doing your due diligence, like what am I actually looking at? Did they actually buy it for a certain amount? Am I competing with that amount that that they paid? Excuse me. And this is going to be always saved to your account. So you come out of the platform, you log off, whatever it is. If you ever want to come back, you come right back into it. And the crazy part is, usually I don't even envision you clicking into the platform in order to access your comping here. I envision you doing that through our data. See, when we export data from Land Insights, it includes a comping link and it includes a parcel link. So you can easily import that to your CRM, which is what I do. And when you get the lead inbound, you literally just click it and it will open up to this screen. So the amount of speed that you have is pretty much unmatched, right? You're shortcutting everything that you've kind of had to set up or prep for a call so that you're not, or your team has to prep for a call so that you're just taking out as many unnecessary parts of the process as possible. So yeah, this is a really exciting piece of software, even for me, even being on the team, to know that we've been building this for over a year, right? And to beta test it even on my own team, I can see the difference. I was able to have so we have a backlog of comps. I think I had mentioned this to Rob. Sometimes this happens when you have so many comps and I'm the guy comping everything. You start to get a backlog, and it's unfortunate because I disregard or I disqualify based on how nice that property is, but sometimes our own desire or our own bias can hurt us when we're looking at these properties because it might sell for, just fine, just for a good profit. It's just my own bias looking at the property. As soon as I started delegating this out, this might sound crazy. I don't know if it does to you, Robin. I don't know how much your comp or your team comps. We comped 60 deals on our first day. 60. That's just, I was comping maybe 15, 20, maybe on a good day. And I'm actually spending, you're spending a good amount of time looking for comps, looking at the listings. This shortcut our time to comp deals so much faster to the point where it's no longer an issue of do I like the deal or not? It's I know what I can pay for it. And so you can increase the amount of offers you send out, which is a very important KPI to keep track of. So it's really changed how I see land investing myself and my own business. I think this is a great opportunity for any land investor who's trying to systematize or even has done deals before. I think that's one thing that you start to realize is you can't build this business consistently off of tools that change or don't adhere to your specific use case. And that's literally all we're working towards is always building features that adhere to a land investor's business. So I hope that's exciting for everybody here. I know I went a little over, Robin, but This is
I love it.
this,
I love it. There's like so much, like in the end it's about speed, right? Like
yeah,
who has enough hours to the day? I don't have that, guys. Like, and everybody else here probably doesn't have them. And what
yeah,
I like, it's just like really making the stuff super simple, super easy. I have 1,000 questions around that, right? Like probably you and me need to have a call because that's really like a game changer, guys, to see
yeah,
that live here. And I had a little glimpse a couple of weeks ago, but this is like really a game changer. So, Ari, I just want to thank you, right? That was like pretty enlightening session. My head is like
absolutely.
really like smoking right now, right? So, man, let's wrap it up. Maybe if you have 5 more minutes, like, are there any questions around here around this what you've seen today? And I'm pretty sure there are.
Yeah, and I can also, I can also give your team, or not, excuse me, your group here, everybody here, a free market selection link. So what we do is we hop on the phone with you. We'll have probably Pete or Ryan from our team. They'll hop on the phone with you. They'll look at market research with you. They'll go find a market, scrub it, skip trace it, and they'll give you 1,000 or so, maybe more, maybe less, just depending on what gets pulled. All of those leads that you pull on the call, they'll just email them to you. So it's a complete freebie. We just want to show you how efficient this makes market research, and then it I think it honestly is a tool that you'll find yourself thriving with. Uh, so I'd love to, yeah, I'd love to see you there. And thank you, Robin, for putting that link in there. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. More than happy. I'd love to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I put the link here if you want to try this. I think it's absolutely worth it. Are there any questions that you guys have?
I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, all right. I've, how much is it a month? Are you
Mhm.
able to do that, or do we have to go through, the call and everything to determine that?
In order for me to tell you the pricing, no, I'll tell you the pricing. I would still go through the call though. So
Okay.
it's it's a quarterly subscription. So it's a $1,500, which equates to $500 a month, but we ask for a commitment of 3 months. This is the
Right.
land business, and so something that that a lot of newer folks as well don't realize is the turnaround time for deals is longer. And because of that, we don't want to set anybody up to fail. If we did a monthly subscription, someone could come in, use it, not feel as though they got their value, and really equate that to the brand or maybe the product itself. We have a very high loyalty, I guess, a high loyalty with our users. And I think it's because one, we do take you on this call. We make sure it's a good fit both ways. And then once we've validated that, justified that, then it's a matter of let's maximize your use of the tool, right, of the platform, rather than just let you kind of reign free. Because the issue is there was months where I was on a data tree subscription and I would get to, I remember this very clearly. My market selection was slacking, and I would get to like day 31 of the month, right? It was March 31st, or March, yeah, it was March 31st, and it reset on the first, and I needed to go pull all my data, and I was struggling to make my KPIs, my goals, and so we don't want that situation. Our goal
Sure.
is once you're in the platform, we walk you through how do you find your first county? How do you pull your first data set? How do you market to it? Right? How quickly can you determine if it's homogeneous or easy to price? How do you price it with the data that we have? So we walk you through that whole thing. You can even see it here on the screen. We have tools for after. So after you get a lead, we didn't really talk about due diligence too much, but you can absolutely do due diligence with those layers we talked about. And then we'll also have the comping tool. But then what about the next step? You get under contract. We even have tools for realtors or your photos, your listing photos. I'll have to leave those as sneak peeks, but I mean, we give you realtor information and double close realtor information that I don't think you're going to find really anywhere else. And so I think overall, it's the whole gambit, right? It's the whole experience. And having a quarterly subscription gets us a little bit closer to ensuring that all of our users have enough time to grow and succeed when using the platform.
I remember when this was first coming out. So,
I could show you. It was a spreadsheet, and I was in awe of it at the time. And you couldn't even filter the spreadsheet the way you wanted. just a spreadsheet, and then not even a year later, actually, wow, that's actually enlightening. Today is the anniversary of when the uh, the market research platform came out. V2 is what we called it. So this is
Yeah.
today a year ago is when we switched from being a spreadsheet to being what you see here.
All right.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Amazing. It's really, really amazing.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Did any come through the chat?
Oh,
Happy to answer any questions, man.
everybody's just blown away, right? Like this is
It's
what
been a
it
long day
literally
too,
is,
so
right?
I'll give you that. My days have gotten shorter with Land Insights.
Me- I get that, right? Or you can get more deals done. So,
Yep.
Ari, I think thank you. That was pretty cool. You should definitely dive in, check that out.
Yeah.
Schedule a call with the team. I dropped the link here in the chat. Drop the link on Facebook. Just check it out. It's a really good platform, and probably it will be like one of the new standards we will incorporate in our comms calls, right? Like,
I
this
I
is
think
what we need to do, right?
mark my words on this, Robin. You said on these comp calls that you do, you said maybe we get through maybe three, four, five comps, and we have a
Yeah.
great discussion, right? And I find that that's extremely valuable. But watch how many comps you're able to get through with this tool, and how many people it'll just enhance your ability to provide value to. I think you're gonna love it. I think your community's gonna love it as well.
I love it already. With that said, guys, thank you so much, Ari, for being on. That was pretty awesome. I think it's always good to have like tools that make your days shorter. And before we jump off this, really hardly thank you. Come on next week, next Thursday. We're gonna have Josh Pierce here, which Ari knows too. He's the
Yeah,
cookie closer, and he will talk with us about like how you can really like convert engaged leads, right? So
yeah.
when you have all this done, what Ari shows you today, when you need like the last 5% to push somebody over the finish line, this is what we talk next week about. So thank you so much for coming on. Let's get ready to rock and roll. I wish you a great night and thank you for hanging out with us for the last hour. And Ari, I need to talk to you soon. We need to put something on the calendar.
You got my number, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you everybody for
Okay.
having me.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good
God
one.
bless.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.